morning and welcome back to the ministry. Pardon my cone head licking scarf thing. It washed my hair and I wrapped it up. So if I didn't have this on, you'd be looking at a towel. But today's topic is graduation. Woo! We made it. We did graduation, y'all. We finally made it. The Lord gave me this word. Has it been a week? It's been about a week and a half ago he gave me this word. As a matter of fact, actually, when this episode initially aired, it aired Friday 2 weeks ago. So it's been about 12 days since this episode aired. I didn't want to watch it. I think I told y'all that. I did not want to watch this episode when it came on of my show. And the Lord kept putting it on my spirit to watch it, and he got me to watch it just before it left the digital application that you could watch the episodes a few days after they aired. I didn't want to watch it, not just because the topic matter in that episode was so deep and saddening to a degree. It's just I didn't feel like watching it. But why are we here? For two reasons. The Lord gave me a dream 3-4 months ago. In it, I was with Megan Michelle, and we were preparing for graduation. It was that anticipation of the night before graduation's tomorrow. You got your cap and gown, everybody ready, all your family's gathered, everything is in ordinance. People taking photographs of you with your cap and gown on, y'all dancing around because you're like, yes, we about to graduate. Yes. And even some of your enemies were in that set of people. And you're like, why y'all here? As according to Psalms 23:5, God will make a table before your enemies. Your enemies are going to see you graduate too. Because he's going to make you famous for what you did in private in public. Everybody gonna see it. Everybody's gonna see it. And I touched a little bit on this as well. Go back and look at my word where I talk about the proposal is the graduation. All that's going to tie into this because this word is the precursor for me doing the review for Marry Me. Oh, we got some stuff here. I need you to follow me and follow me well because this is going to be hopefully about 2 parts. But I'm going to do a full breakdown of the movie Marry Me. Graduation, marriage proposal, and wedding. Proposal is the graduation. So your homework after you finish watching these 2 parts is go back and look up the video I did called Proposal is Your Graduation. So let's begin. What happens when you're preparing to graduate? 9 times out of 10, you're tying up loose ends. That's the week that you're taking your finals. That's the week that actually things become more relaxed, because once those finals are taken, y'all just chilling out waiting for that day. Some of you have been in this space. God has put you through a series of testing, like your finals. You went through your training, your testing, so on and so forth. You passed your exams. I lie to you not, I've been seeing videos pop up on my feed over and 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 over, saying, you passed your test. You passed. You passed. You've passed the test. Just Emily released a word called "you passed your test." That's a good word too, especially for those of y'all that are waiting on a prodigal that is your God ordained spouse. Really good word, but it's about 2 hours long almost. But you passed your exams. Great. Some of y'all are in a resting period. Some of y'all don't understand. Okay, I've been working. God's had me do this, doing the fasting, doing the praying, doing this, doing that. And things all of a sudden just stop moving. It's like, why did everything stop moving? Because you're in that resting place before the culmination, so that you can what? Tie up loose ends. If you have a book that the Lord done told you to write, you wrote it, but you didn't finish editing the book. If you have websites that you're supposed to be working on, go get in there, double check, make sure everything is good. If you got a t-shirt brand or t-shirts, make sure that the store is in ordinance. If you got courses that you do, go back in, do any edits you need to do, and make sure that the courses are in the right order, and that if you know how to do the systems are in order, or that you set things up and make sure all that stuff is in order. If you've got a community, make sure your community is in order and right standing, so that if you have people coming in that are going to come in for that community, so on and so forth. If you got a podcast, make sure your podcast episodes, if you got back podcast episodes, start your scheduling. Do all of the things that you need to do in order to tie up loose ends, to make sure that everything that you need done is done now. Okay? But there's a catch to this. Sad part. As you are starting to make sure your loose ends are tied up, you're going to see a separation. What? What you mean a separation? You're going to see a separation of the wheat and the tares. As we know in the scripture that states, that God went forth and planted the seed for the wheat. But in the middle of the night, when everyone was sleeping, the enemy came in and planted tares. Right now, the wheat, which is your blessings, are coming up. But also the tares, which is the false blessings that the enemy is trying to weed in there, is coming up as well. How do I know this? Remember the other day I was talking about, if you finish listening to The Perfect Match, I talked about condemnation and contamination. There's such a thing as there's contamination, which is something you're recognizing something is contaminated. Maybe it's old, maybe it has something in it that ain't supposed to be in there. And it's so funny that when I was listening to a word on that the other day, my dad went, he cooks fish all the time. He went in, got his fish flour out, poured it out, and said, "Oh man, there's a bunch of weevils in here." Contamination. There are people that I even know that I listen to. I can tell when they're not. It's not that they aren't speaking the truth. It's the fact that I know that they have somebody in their ear that may be giving some contaminated information. And whenever I know the difference of when they're speaking the truth of God and when they brought in something that was from that other person or something that other person suggested that they speak. I can automatically tell. I'm like, God, 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 poison. God, 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 poison. God, 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 poison. Now, one might say, well, if you know that they're poisonous, why don't you disconnect? I'm going to tell you exactly why. And this is something that's been a struggle for me. And every time I thought to do so, because I'm like, oh, they got some contamination, Lord. I can't deal with their contaminations. I'm trying to get into my season. And God be like, prayers of a righteous man availeth much. I'm like, what? Pray for them. God will even have you pray for your enemies. God will have you pray for your enemies. You think he ain't going to have you pray for your friends that are dealing with enemies? I just had to make that point because some of us be like, it's a season of separation. Oop, they got a problem. Let me just drop them. No, sometimes God will say, I need you to keep that one because that's an asset to you. Keep it. For did not Paul say, it's a thorn in my side? I'm going to give you some faith to deal with that thorn in your side, but I'm not going to take it away. What? What? Yeah, you got to stick with it because they ain't the problem. And you know they're not the problem. Pray and keep moving. So in certain seasons, you have to discern. And somebody talked about this. You have to discern whether this person is for you and they are dealing with something in that season. You have to determine whether the person is for you and they are in complete clear with the Lord. Then you have to determine whether the person is against you, but God has placed them in your life to bless you. Then you have to also determine whether the person is just completely against you. Tricky, ain't it? Because these are things that will happen. Because I've heard multiple people say this. During certain seasons, God will let people stay in your life. You ever had somebody attacking you constantly and what's the word? Relentlessly? And you looking at God like, yo, God, I'm your child. Why are you letting this person? And it's like, I'm trying to get them to repent. I'm trying to get them to relent. I need you to pray for that person. And some of those are just straightly your enemies. I'm talking about, for me, that was a friend. And God said, don't let him go. And then I got confirmation, even as of last night, from a word from somebody else that I'd been sensing should I continue to listen to. Right now, the enemy is trying to weave in tares, put poisonous words. Tiffany Montgomery said this. You have to be so careful in a season of elevation. One, the Lord will allow these tares to come up in these people because he needs to, one, expose you to them. Two, because of the fact that you need to see that if you were loving on this person a little bit too much, God needs to show you they could actually lead you astray if you're not careful, if you put too much of your, what's the word? Not belief in them, but too much of your desire. I'm not quite sure if I'm saying the right word, but you put too much into it, too much of your trust into it. That's how the prophet led that man to death in the Bible. Because remember, the prophet that led that man to death was a leader to that young man, and he trusted him. But the Lord allowed the spirit of what happened to that man in order for him to prophesy to him, to lead him astray, to do the exact thing that was opposite of what the Lord said. Why? Because the Lord wanted to test, are you going to listen to me, or are you going to listen to that human being? So sometimes the Lord will allow even your leaders to have a little poison in them, to be like, do you recognize it? And are you going to listen to everything they have to say? There is a reason I have you at a distance from this person right now. Because I'm a clinger. I'll cling on to a person. But I had to learn that if the Lord has removed that person or given us distance, it's for a reason. There's certain things he's doing with me in this season, certain things he's doing with that person in this season. And because we're both elevating, we both need our own elevation points, but we cannot lose sight. And the timing will come that we will come back together, but God's got to work on them for this season and me this season. Point being, I needed you to see that, because when the wheat and the tares come up, it can get a little fishy. So during this time frame, you're going to have to take an evaluation of where you have gone, where you have been, and where you are going, which you recognize you do not know. This is a time frame, and a lot of you may have noticed this. Have you started having either recollections, melancholy, thoughts and ideas from your past, remembering things that were either sad or good from your past, or you're dealing with, you're seeing things from your past. I told you the other day, I've been seeing, a news report came up, showed my old high school. I ain't seen that place, ain't been near that place since I left. I'm 35 years old. I left that high school at 17, 18 years old. I ain't seen that high school. You're starting to have dreams of exes, dreams of past locations, homes, all these kind of things from your past. There's a spirit trying to pull you backwards in order to delay you. If you find yourself in an old residence, sometimes that's a spirit of delay. So be careful of that. Present. You are looking at an appearance of everything around you, false evidence appearing real, that no movement is actually happening in your actual environment. Just like I said, things don't seem to be moving. Everything seems to be quiet. Nothing seems to be happening at this particular point in time. So you're evaluating where you are, and then the unknown. The unknown is, where am I going next? I see God is showing me. You've been getting dreams, you've been getting visions, you've been getting downloads, you've been prepping for what you've been seeing, but the reality is not matching what God's been showing you in this moment. And you're evaluating all of these things, and it's all happening at the same time. Okay. So, this is the point in time that you would come together to celebrate. And by this, I mean you are evaluating the things that you need to let go. Listen, you ever watch a sitcom or a TV show or what have you, and you know, like when the show's about to end, everybody comes together. There's a celebration of a birth, or there's a celebration of a move, like they're moving out of their home, or something happens as a culminating point in order for the show to move on. But as that's coming to pass, you see the people packing. You see the people celebrating their time having been there. You see all of this type of stuff. These are the things that you're dealing with right now. Maybe you're seeing celebrations, or you're seeing breaking up of things that would keep you where you are. Okay? No more teachers. You will go through a series of teachers. You've been in your wilderness. You've had a series of teachers guiding you through that season. Maybe it was YouTubers. Maybe you've actually had mentorial people in your life. Every season I had to change seasons. Whoever was teaching me in the season before I elevated, they had to leave me. Meaning I could not continue to deal with that particular teacher because that person was for that season. Now, throughout your life, you're going to have a certain set of teachers, but what's going to happen is you're going to relinquish teachers, and then God's going to replace those teachers for your next elevation, because the teacher that taught you in the previous season, your wilderness, because think about it, your high school teachers didn't go with you to college, did they? No. Okay. The textbooks, the books you were learning from before, the ones that you were learning from before, you're not going to be learning from those same textbooks this rotation. You're going to be learning from a completely different set of textbooks when you go to college. You're learning what you're reading and how you're processing it. I'm an Audible reader. I read books on Audible. I listen to them. I listen to textbook, whatever it is that I'm trying to gain information from. I look at visual documentary series, all this kind of stuff. But the things that you're listening to even evolve. They become more meaty. They become more directed for the season in which you're in. So as you transfer from your high school season into college, you ain't reading from the same textbooks. You're not reading the same books. Now, who's to say that some books that you read or have read previously, you won't read again where you're going, but even when you do, at the elevated mindset you are for that level, you're going to see the context of the information differently and evaluate it completely different. Perfect example. What I'm reading from you from the episode of the TV show. When I watched this show originally over 20 years ago, I didn't have this revelation. I watched it all over again. An amazing amount of revelation came from it. So you can retake a course. Some of y'all online study, some of y'all take these Facebook challenges that have come up in the past several years, 5 to 7 years. We've been seeing people do Facebook challenges. Every time you take it, sometimes my coach would do a training once every 2-3 months on social media. I will always take her training, and every single time I would go through it, it was a new level of Rhema understanding to what it was that she was teaching, because she had gained new knowledge. Same information, same material, completely different revelation. As you are coming to an end of one thing, the new thing is coming in, and there may be a collision. Understand that as you are warring in the spirit for the manifestation of your promises, there's going to be a level of collision. What you also sense and feel, if you are a feeler, is that there's going to be a bit of an oppressive heaviness in the atmosphere, because there is warring in the atmosphere above you spiritually, fighting for your breakthrough. So you're going to feel the weight of that warfare. Your new thing is coming in, but the old thing is fighting to remain in its position. We just went through election day. Election, what is that? A removal of the old seat and a new person coming in a new seat, changing of the guard. But when this happens, there must be a breakdown of the old. Yes? So as this is happening, the new life you are preparing to walk into may come face to face with your old life. For those of y'all that are waiting on kingdom marriage, what does that look like? Do I even have to say it? That's your family meeting your God-ordained spouse's family. You're moving into your God-ordained spouse's family. Your old family you're leaving behind. And you have to bring them together for a wedding. Some of y'all are graduating. Your family's going to come together for your graduation. It's going to be a series of events. Maybe you're not even doing that. Maybe it's a promotion of some sort and your family's coming together to celebrate your promotion. I remember several years ago, I got a leadership certificate from my college, and they had a grand gala. And in all actuality, I didn't bring my family to that one, because I was like, this is my thing. They actually were a little upset. They were like, you didn't tell us that you were getting a certificate for leadership and you went to the gala and you didn't. Nope. That's how I am sometimes. I like to protect things that are close to me. But in this, as you are elevating, relationships will be tested. Everything from your past will be tested. Right now, I am literally in the midst of seeing the relationships I've had tested, meaning I don't have that many relationships around me right now. My mentorial relationship, tested. My parent relationship, tested. My even the YouTubers that I follow, am I going to keep listening to you, or am I going to release you? Do I have too many people that I'm listening to in this season? If I'm listening to too many people, who needs to go? Why? Because one person's releasing a word talking about that's going left, the other one's releasing a word going right. Perfect example. I was listening to one of the people that I listen to, and she was saying, this is a season God's saying rest. Okay. Not 20 minutes later did I listen to another person I listened to. They were saying, no, you don't want to rest too much because the enemy's doing X, Y, and Z in this season. You need to be up. You need to be moving. You need to be constantly keeping yourself up and active. And you need to be doing what it is that God's called you to do. Who's right? Should I be resting or should I be moving? That's also a wheat and a tare. What is God saying you need to be doing? Because I've seen that also happen in the midst of a season of elevation. You will see contradictory messages from the people that you listen to. Going back to Tiffany Montgomery released a word about 2 weeks ago in relation to the marriage fast that they do. And she was talking about, be aware that during a season of elevation, even the people that you are listening to are going to speak contrary to the very thing that you're praying about. And you're going to have to discern and decipher, do you need to keep listening to these people? Or do you need to listen to them during the season? Relationships tested. And some of you may be under the most strenuous testing. I went through a consecration the other week. And when I tell you the level of condemnation and the spirit of heaviness that was over me was ridiculous. It was strenuous. And I'm trying to be like, God, I need to filter out what's supposed to be here and what's not supposed to be here, because I can't afford to miss my moment of elevation because I got contamination, or I am condemning myself for a projecting spirit that is projecting onto me a level of contamination that ain't even there, because the enemy is trying to get you to back away from your blessing by feeling condemned for something that you ain't even do. Have you ever heard somebody accuse you so well that you even question yourself and you know you didn't do it? That's the way the enemy do you in this type of season. Strenuous testing. And you have to discern, wait, was that me or was that God? Did I do something or did I not do something? God, come with me. I need you. Yeah. Watch those around you going through some things and having to choose in the midst whether you will go or stay. During this time frame, as the Lord's preparing the level of separation, as he separates you to move you into your new, some of us always have felt like this, and tell me I'm lying. I'm gonna have to come back to that point because we're coming to the end of this video. But hold that thought. Coming back on the next one.